Her tribe cast her out because she couldn't bear children, and when she was on the verge of death, help came from the most unexpected place. 2.3 million years ago, when a massive primate approached her, who could have known she would find compassion instead of fear. In the vast savannas of ancient Africa, where survival was a daily battle against nature's cruelest tests, lived Kala, a woman of 24 whose name meant beloved in her tribe's tongue, yet whose life had become anything but beloved. The Australopithecus band she belonged to moved across the endless grasslands like shadows, following the rains and the herds that meant the difference between life and death. Kala walked behind the others, her head bowed under the weight of shame that had become her constant companion. For 6 seasons of abundant rains, she had tried to conceive. 6 seasons of hope, followed by crushing disappointment. "Barren woman brings curse to tribe," muttered Teko, the tribe's spiritual leader, loud enough for everyone to hear. His words carried the weight of tribal law, and Kala felt each syllable like stones thrown at her back. The other women avoided her gaze, pulling their children closer when she passed. Even Nara, who had once been her closest friend, now treated her like a shadow that might contaminate her own fertility. Elder Madak, whose weathered face had seen 40 seasons come and go, made the declaration that would seal her fate. Tonight, when moon rises full, Kala must leave. Tribe cannot carry burden of cursed woman. That evening, as the tribe settled around their protective fires, Kala gathered her few possessions, a sharp stone for cutting, a hide water pouch, and a small carved figure her grandmother had given her, a protective charm that had clearly failed in its purpose. As the moon climbed high, casting silver light across the grassland, Kala walked into the darkness. Behind her, the warm glow of the tribal fires grew smaller until it disappeared entirely. Ahead lay an unknown vastness that promised only suffering and death. For 3 days and nights, she wandered aimlessly. The few roots and berries she found barely sustained her, and her water ran out on the 2nd day. By the 4th dawn, Kala could barely walk. Her lips were cracked and bleeding, her tongue swollen in her mouth like a dried fruit. She collapsed beside a small stream, drinking greedily until her stomach cramped. It was there, as weakness overwhelmed her and dark spots danced before her eyes, that she heard the rustling. Heavy footsteps approached through the tall grass, and Kala's heart hammered with the last of her strength. But when the massive figure emerged from the grass, it was unlike any creature she had ever seen. Standing nearly twice her height, covered in reddish-brown fur that gleamed in the morning light, was a gigantic primate. His intelligent dark eyes studied her with what seemed impossible, concern rather than hunger. Thane was his name in the guttural language of his kind, though Kala would never know this. The great primate moved slowly, deliberately, making soft vocalizations that somehow conveyed safety rather than threat. When Kala flinched, he stopped and waited, allowing her to understand that he meant no harm. Then, with surprising gentleness, Thane reached into a fold of leaves he carried and offered her fruits she had never seen before, sweet, juicy globes that burst with life-giving moisture. "Why?" she whispered in her own language, though she knew he couldn't understand. "Why do you help me when my own kind cast me out?" Thane tilted his massive head, and for a moment, Kala saw something in his eyes that she had rarely seen directed toward her. Pure kindness. Not kindness with conditions or expectations, but the simple recognition of one living being reaching out to another in need. From that day forward, an extraordinary bond formed between woman and primate. Thane showed her which plants were safe to eat, where to find the cleanest water, how to read the signs that predicted dangerous weather. He built shelters from branches and leaves that kept her dry during the fierce rains and warm during the cold nights. But more than survival skills, Thane gave Kala something she had lost: dignity. Months passed and Kala grew strong again. Her body, nourished by the foods Thane provided and freed from the stress of constant rejection, began to heal. She learned to communicate with Thane through gestures and expressions, developing a language of understanding that transcended species. One day, as they rested by a waterhole, Kala placed her hand on her belly and felt a flutter she had never experienced before. Her eyes widened in wonder and disbelief. Could it be? Thane, with the intuitive wisdom of his kind, seemed to sense the change in her. He became even more protective, more gentle, as if understanding that she now carried something precious. When the time came for birth, it was Thane who stayed by her side through the long, difficult labor. His presence was both comforting and strengthening, and when Kala's daughter finally entered the world with a lusty cry, the great primate's eyes filled with what could only be described as joy. Little Asha, life in the old tongue, grew up knowing two parents who loved her unconditionally. From her human mother, she learned language and the skills of her ancestral people. From Thane, she learned the deeper wisdom of the forest. Years later, when tribal scouts occasionally spotted the unusual family from a distance, they would report back about the cursed woman who had somehow survived alone in the wilderness. She had found something more valuable than tribal acceptance. She had discovered that family is not defined by blood or species, but by the willingness to love and protect one another. And in the gentle giant who had chosen to save her, she had found not just a protector, but the purest expression of what it means to be truly human. The capacity to love without condition, to care without expectation, and to see the sacred worth in every living being.